it's about as bad as you can imagine. Like just the helplessness of it. And then after I was beaten up, I couldn't even make money for like a day because my
Yeah.
eyes were swollen shut, so I couldn't even hit people. Um,
Would you say that's hell on earth if we were to say?
Without a doubt, without a doubt, the streets in that environment is hell on earth. It's as close as you can get. I mean, I I would say there's worse areas in the world. There's war torn parts of Russia, and I'm sure Ukraine right now.
Yeah, yeah.
These other third world countries that experience that kind of life every day. But as far as it goes in America, it's as close as you can get to a third world country, and, and it's and it's not only just people trying to survive, but it's people who are in active addiction and criminal behavior trying to survive together in this community.
Prove to me that you are alive.
Yeah, I mean, during my time in Kensington,
Yeah, how did you? I'm sorry. How did you end up on the streets, man? Let's get there, man.
yeah, yeah. So, I go to this rehab, and I walk out 3 days later, AMA, against medical advice, and I start getting high again. And then shortly after that, I go down to Philly, cop some drugs, come back, and on my way back from getting high all night, I get pulled over and I run from state police. So I took them on a chase for like 10 miles at
Oh
125 miles an
shit!
hour. Um, yeah, I was trying to get away, and it wasn't happening. I mean, I was spun out on coke, and I was out of my mind. So I decided the best thing to do would be to run, and it wasn't. So I
That's a
end up,
crazy story too, because from what I remember, like you almost got away. Like you were gonna do like one of these um
yeah.
Fast and the Furious, like you know what I'm saying, hit a corner and then turn off your lights and shit. Like tell me about that night, because it sounded like it was a crazy story, man.
Yeah, it almost worked. So I'm coming down the road, and I'm speeding and doing 77 and a 55 and 76, I think, maybe. And I get pulled over. He lights me up, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm running. So I got drugs in the car. There's paraphernalia everywhere. I'm covered in blood. I was shooting up all night, and I run. So I'm thinking I'm gonna pull this quick maneuver and disappear on him, but he catches up to me like in like 10 seconds. He was right on my ass, so
Mm.
there was no way I was getting away. Um, so I'm like, all right, plan B is to run down this highway. It's like 10 miles from one town to the next, and when you get into this town, there's this little cutoff road to the right that I know really well because I used to race on it with my friends when I was younger, and it's very narrow and it's very windy. So the plan is get into town, pull off this right turn, and he's gonna have to either try to follow me or hopefully miss the turn completely and I get a head start on him. So I do this as we come into the town. I slam on my brakes, cut the right, and he slides past me. Um, I'm going up this hill, and as far as I can tell, I'm home free. He's not behind me anymore, and I'm on my way. And as I round up to the top of this hill, there's a giant oak tree down in the way with two concrete barriers in front of it that stopped me dead.
Oh shit.
So I was stuck, and I was too spun out to even try to run. To be honest with you, like I don't know. I probably would have tried to hide like in the trunk or something. Like I was not. I was having bad ideas. Like not any coherent thinking really at the time. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm caught. So I got out and I sat down or I kneeled down and I put my hands on my head
Mhm.
and he pulled up in the car behind me, jumped out, came over. He kicked me in the head and handcuffed me.
Damn, bro.
And yeah, I mean he was pissed, and I mean he had a right to be. I was
Mhm.
passing traffic in the wrong lane and
Did he
doing all
draw the
kinds of.
pistol on you? He drew on you?
No, no, because when he came out, I was sitting there with my
Mm,
hands on my head, so I was trying to be as non-threatening as possible.
mm.
Um, but he still kicked me though. I mean, maybe I had it coming, but
He had to get back at you, man, you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just took him on a chase. I mean, I was maxed out on the accelerator the whole time. As fast as
Wow.
I was driving a Ford Focus, as fast as it would go, I was going. It's uh like 125, maybe
Wow.
a little more. Yeah. Um.
So did you
So
get
he
locked
comes up.
up?
Yeah. So they come up and they put me in handcuffs and they look in the back of my car and my duty belt from work is back there. So that's your
Wow.
your work belt that holds your handcuffs and your
Mhm.
radio and your pepper spray and all that stuff. So they um they asked me if I'm a cop or if I if I'm a CO, and I said yeah, I'm a CO. They asked me where. I didn't want to tell them, and they told me they're gonna find out anyway.
Right.
So they I told them, and they're like, "What are you doing, man?" And I'm like, "Look, like I relapsed a couple months ago, and like I'm out of my mind. Like as you can see, like I'm in it bad." They're like,
Crazy.
"Yeah, well, we can see that." And yeah, they arrested me. They took me to get a blood test. I got a DUI for heroin and cocaine, and they took me to the county jail. I called my nana, told her to grab my title for my bike because I was gonna put my
Mhm.
crotch rocket up for bail, and I did that, and went home, ran right back up the street, and grabbed the drugs I threw out of the window. Came back to the house, got high, um, and like a day later, the jail called me, and they were like, "Hey, you got to come in for a drug test." I'm like,
Mm,
"Yeah, I figured you guys would be calling." So I told them that I can't at first because my car was impounded, and they told me they'll come pick me up. So they come pick me up. Um, they were, not they didn't talk much about anything that happened. They're very professional,
mhm.
stoic, and I went and gave them the drug test, and they called me back in about a week later and said, your test was hot. You're charged with these offenses. Like, what do you have to say for yourself? And I had a union representative there who was fighting for me to go into treatment. So they
Mhm.
gave me the option to go to treatment. I went and I walked out like 4 days later again. Um, and when I walked out, like that's when I kind of accepted that I was really in it for real now. Like there wasn't any coming back from this. Like
Wow.
I'm really using drugs, and um I'm really stuck in the addiction cycle once more, and I'm just gonna ride it out and see what happens. Hopefully I get arrested or something, and it
Mhm.
stops me before it gets too bad or I die. Was really kind of my mindset. So I go in, I go back to the house. Um I got an Uber to my car. I still had some money in my account because I was getting paid for my vacation time still that I had accumulated. Um, so I had money in my account. I went and picked up my car. I called uh, my friend. She was my friend at the time. I told you, Britt. I
Mhm.
called Britt and I said, "Hey, I'm out of jail." Told her what happened, and I told her I'm going to Kensington. So she was like, "All right, well, let's go." So I went down. I copped. I came back. Um, and I knew I was looking at the end. So I packed my things, like what little stuff I really had left. I had sold my Xbox and anything that was worth anything already, um, except my guitar. Actually, I I gave my guitar to my sponsor at the time, like very shortly after I first relapsed. I said, "I'm getting high and I'll sell this and I want to keep it. So I need you to hold this for me." So he actually still has that. I got to get that back off him.
Yeah, man, you always had something, man. You know, first it was the
Yeah,
ring, then it was the guitar, then it was you not bringing any contraband into jail. Like I said, man, you have something as
yeah.
part of your characteristic like that, man.
You know, there's a saying. They say character is is doing the right thing even when nobody's watching, right?
Oh,
That's
shit.
character.
That's a good saying,
And
man.
it is. And they say integrity is doing the right thing even when you don't want to. So, I
Wow.
like those sayings and
Hmm.
I believe in that really because you know, giving my guitar to that friend, that's something I don't want to do. I want to sell that and go get a fix
Yeah,
or
of
that
course.
ring or bringing drugs in because I'm going to get free drugs out of it or whatever
Hmm.
the case. I don't those are boundaries and those are marks of integrity, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
they are, man. There was that like I said, there was always something, some sort of a line, I think, that kept you from crossing into that, demonic slash animalistic, side where we see, addicts go, man, especially addicts on Kensington, because we have
yeah,
to remember that, we're also talking about a serious mental health issue, because when you see a human being and they are no longer showering and they're not cutting their nails and they're not, they kind of forgot that, humane side of themselves. That's when you know that they have crossed, that threshold where it's going to be almost impossible to come back from. And I'm pretty sure, you crossed some of these thresholds, but yet again, you always had something, I think, that kept you from going completely overboard, man.
yeah, yeah. I tried to hold on to some part of myself because
Mhm.
I can see the other side, and that's becoming a monster, and that's not something that I wanted to do. Um, for whatever reason. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've done my fair share of dirt, and I've hurt people, of course. Whether physically or just like my family emotionally.
Yeah,
Hurt myself spiritually.
yeah,
Physically. Like there's parts of me that have gone to extremes that I never wanted to get to, but there was always something that I tried to hold on to keep me me because I
mhm,
could lose that really quickly because once you break through that wall, you it's not so easy to build it back up,
yeah,
you know? Like you crack an egg and you can't put it back together, and
yeah.
that's what those markers are like. Um,
So
so
how did you end up back on, I mean, not back, but how did you end up on the streets in Kensington, man?
yep. So um, I got that charge. I came home, I packed up my stuff, and I essentially said goodbye to my mom. I got into a big fight with my dad, and it was essentially just over me using drugs. Like we don't like you saw the interaction earlier where he came in and asked me to help him with some electronic thing because he can't figure it out. Like we have a good relationship today, and our relationship is nothing like that. If I'm using drugs, we don't talk, we don't speak, and if we are speaking, we're fighting verbally. So it's like um, it's a marked difference between our relationship now and then. So it was really bad when I was getting high, and we got into a bad argument. Um, he was going to call the cops on me, and I wasn't trying to get arrested. So Britt was with me, and we left, and we went down the way to Philly. And I was staying there on Somerset and Tusculum, and we were just doing our thing, like copping. Um, she was getting PUA money for COVID, and that's how we were surviving at the time. And I uh, I did that for most of the summer of 2020 into the fall until eventually my car was set on fire while her and I were in it sleeping, and um, I burned my hands trying to put it out, and I went to Temple, and the fire company had managed to put it out pretty quickly, but when I got back, my car was totally torched. So while I was gone, they had set it on fire again and burned it to nothing. Um, and I think they did that because I was broken down on the block. The car broke down, um, and I parked across from these neighbors' houses where we stayed normally, but we would move. But since it was broken down, we were kind of stuck there. And I think they just got tired of us being on the block, and they made a call to somebody that came in and moved us out themselves. Um, it could have been worse. I mean, people get killed down there for less than that. So, yeah, we were then fully homeless. I got out of the hospital. I left AMA after like 10 days once my hands were healed enough for me to actually use them. And we were back out on the streets. But for real this time, like actually living on the sidewalk. And to make money, I started to shoplift from stores and steal. But in the meantime, um, I had learned how to hit people. I was always kind of good at it, but by hit I mean inject others. So that was always kind of a skill I had that people would come to me for, even in this area, like
Mhm.
in the trap house or whatever. And I honed that further on the street. So I got into a couple of close calls with shoplifting where I almost got arrested. And um, I don't know, I couldn't have that. If I got arrested, I'd be sick, and Britt would be stuck out there on the street
Mhm.
with no way to make money. And I wasn't about to let her start selling herself to make money because I couldn't provide. So I figured out a way to make money for both of us, and that
Mm,
was through injecting others.
mm,
So to get myself established, I found a block where nobody really operated on, and I would hang out there and I would let people know if they need to get hit, they can come here.
mm,
And the traffic started slowly, and it picked up and it picked up and further and further and further until eventually I was so busy that I had people in a line
mhm,
waiting for me for. I mean, the one time I worked for like 40 hours straight, I didn't even sleep, and it was just constant work. I made like $700 that day.
mm,
Um, like I was making a lot of money doing it, and it was enough money to keep Britt and I high, but it also kept us stuck down there.
mm,
Um, so yeah, like I was like the go-to guy at I worked on Clearfield Street,
mhm,
Kensington and Clearfield, and I was on that block for, I don't know, essentially 4 years or so. Um, I was in Kensington for 5.5.
hmm,
So that was 4.5 winters outside. Um, just everything that comes with it, like just there's free samples of drugs in the morning sometimes that keeps people stuck further,
mm,
and people dying from hot shots and other hitters. Like, so there's something called hot veins where you can inject
mhm,
into an artery, and
mhm,
if you do that, it causes an instantaneous seizure.
mhm,
um it can cause you to get blood clots that make your limbs fall off if you don't get it treated. Like, I've seen people lose fingers. And um then the trank wounds, open exposed bones, and people shooting in open veins, and these giant wounds all over their body, and maggots. Like, dude, I've had maggots in my legs before, like
mhm,
from these trank wounds. Like, it's awful. And people are living like that, like today as we speak. That's
mhm.
happening down there. Like, it's not something that did happen. It's happening, and it's,
What
I
do
don't know,
you
man.
what do you think first of all, 5 years. That's again something remarkable. Has to be inside of you, man. To survive 5 years. So, like, can you take us through a day? What does that look like? Because it's hard to imagine. Let's say it's in the winter time. Like, where are you sleeping? How are you staying warm? And what does your day look like?
So um, before, so we'll do a day before Mayor Parker, and then I guess like a day after, right? So
Hmm.
before she came in, so it was Brit would shake me awake to either get a sample on a
Hmm.
block that you would have to walk to and go get, or shake me awake to hit somebody that needed to get hit so we could get paid.
Hmm.
Um, so I would hit them and then the day would start. And then people would come to me all day and I would hit them and they would pay me in drugs or money or
Hmm.
a part of their shot. A lot of the time they would give me units out of their shot. Um, so that was an all day process. I was essentially in the same place all day long so people could find me. And I would send Brit to cop drugs, or we would already have them on us from
Hmm.
people paying us. So that would go on all day. And I mean, at some point we would eat. Sometimes outreach people would come out and they would bring different food or clothes or things like that. So summertime, that's what it was like. It was pretty much a party the whole time.
Hmm.
Winter wasn't as much fun. Winter was brutal. Um, I mean, imagine the coldest winter night and pick a spot on the sidewalk and go sleep on it.
Hmm.
That's what it was like. Um, we would we would get blankets and collect blankets and like store them or carry them with us throughout the day or keep them nearby. But your things get stolen all the time, so sometimes you wouldn't have any. Um,
You
but
you were you were able to light fires back then, right? Because then some law
yeah,
came in effect where they stopped that at some point.
yeah. So before Mayor Parker, we were able to light fires, have tents. I mean, it wasn't technically allowed,
Hmm.
but it was tolerated because we had to survive somehow, and we're
Hmm.
out there in the winter. I mean, whether it's by choice or not, like there's still a certain level of humanity,
Right.
and that has to be maintained, and that's basic shelter in the winter, like a tent or a fire, and staying warm.
Yeah.
Um,
What about shelters, man? Like, I know a lot of people don't like shelters, but did you have access to shelters around there?
yes and no. So a lot of them were full already, so you
Hmm.
had to get on a waiting list to even get in them, and sometimes that was 6 or 7 months.
Oh wow.
Um, During the cold months, sometimes they would have warming shelters, so you could go in overnight, but they weren't all the time. They were only on like the coldest of nights and not always. Um, so you could go there, and a lot of people don't like to go to them because sometimes you can't get high there,
Hmm.
um, or it's far from the drugs, and you can't get to the drugs
Yeah.
because
Plus, you got to get there at a certain time, and you got to leave it at a certain time, and all that. Plus, I heard
yeah,
there was a lot of, like, violence inside there, and even sexual violence as far as females go, and all that. So, a lot of times, the streets could be safer than the shelter, man.
yeah, when you go to the shelter, you're kind of mixed into this foray of people who you don't know because
Hmm.
not all your people are going to be there. So it's people from all parts of the city, and um, being homeless and living in that environment is stressful. So tempers flare quickly, and there's robberies and I mean, as far as like sexual violence against females, I could see that happening
Hmm.
possibly inside those, but um I mean, I know that if it was me and I saw something like that happening to somebody, I would say something, and a lot of other people down there would. But that's not to say that those women don't experience horrible things down there, because they do. A lot of those girls who are homeless on the streets like that, and this is for anywhere, they trick and
Yeah,
prostitute to
mm.
make money, because it's what they have to do.
Yeah, they do dates as they call them, man.
Yeah, it's called
Um,
dates.
I want to ask you a crazy question, and if it's too like, if your answer is too incriminating, you don't have to answer. But I wanted to ask you, or maybe you can talk like remotely about it. What do you think is the worst thing that you had to do while out on Kensington on the streets for those 5 years?
Um, probably probably rob people violently.
Hmm.
Um, I've had to do that before, and I don't like to do that. I don't like to hurt people, man. Like, it's not. Some people, that's a part of their character, and some wear it even as a badge of honor, but that's
Yeah.
not me. Um, I don't like to be physically violent with people, and you know, I was a fairly big dude, and pretty strong, and capable of holding my own. So,
Mhm.
um, like, I've had to fight down there, but I've also used that strength to take from other people, and I
Mhm.
don't like to do that. That's something that I always disagreed with, even on like my a personal level, for me to do to survive. But I would if I had to, and I
Mhm.
I have. Um,
What do you think is the worst thing you've seen throughout that time?
uh, a a bad one I saw was there was one dude who was running up the Ave, well, kind of limping up the Ave with a sword stuck out of his back, asking somebody to
What?
call 911. Yeah,
You said a sword, bro?
a sword. Yeah, a sword stuck into his back. Um, I don't know how it happened. I just saw him coming up the Ave like that. Um, I mean, I've been jumped violently. I was accused of stealing money, guns, and drugs
Mm-hmm.
from a drug dealer from his girlfriend, and they locked me into a trap house and beat me bloody for
Damn,
like close to an hour.
damn,
I
bro.
mean, the dude was taking off his clothes because he didn't want to get blood on his clothes. He was
Right.
gonna kill me.
Holy shit.
Um, yeah, and they also tricked Britt into coming into the house. They told her that they were gonna give her a free sample of
Oh,
drugs. They
wow.
Yeah, so they came in. She came in, and they started beating up on her, and I was like completely helpless in this situation.
Right.
That like I was pinned down, and there was nothing I could do, as she's getting attacked,
So
and
they wanted to hurt you real bad by having her in there, she getting beat up, and they know
yeah,
that you can't even protect her, bro. What
yeah.
is what was that like in the aftermath? How were you able to deal with yourself after something like that happens?
Um,
Were the drugs numbing it up well enough? Because, like I said, you have this sense of guilt and ethic, and you've always had it, man. So, how was it to
yeah.
survive something like that?
Um, I mean, so so the way that we got out of it was we both told the same story separately. And we didn't have time to discuss that, so they assumed we were telling the truth,
Or
which we
it
were.
checked out, right? Hmm.
Yeah, it checked out. So they let us go, but told us they were gonna watch us closely, and they found out um who actually was responsible for what
Hmm.
happened. Um, so they they let us go, and I mean, afterward, it was like, almost a sense of empowerment. Like, I can't believe I just survived that.
Hmm.
At the same time, it messed with my masculinity at not
Hmm.
being able to protect my woman.
Right.
There was just the the wrongness of being falsely accused for something that I didn't do. So as a hitter, um, you gain trust within the community with these
Mhm,
people because they come to you and they're essentially putting their life in your hands
mhm.
and their drugs and their money. They're expecting you to do your job and to do it well and
Right.
to get paid a fair wage for it. It's a
Mhm,
business. Um, but often those people will pass out immediately after they're shot because of the trank.
mhm,
So they also expect to wake up with their things. Um,
mhm,
or a reasonable expectation of that. If they wander off the block and get robbed, that's not my fault. But
right,
if they were around me, I wouldn't let people go through their shit.
right.
Um, yeah, that was just how I operated. So like to be accused of doing something that I worked actively against, like sucked because you don't want that to be your reputation as being someone
Mhm.
who's a thief in there that can destroy your reputation. Nobody likes a thief, even on the
Mhm.
streets.
Yeah, man. Um, I don't want to take you back to that hellish moment, but if you could just paint a picture for us as well as you can, um, being so badly beat up, being on the street, like with your woman, what does that feel like physically, emotionally, and spiritual, like that night? How painful is an experience like that?
I mean, it's about as bad as you can imagine.
Mm,
Like just the helplessness of it. Like and then after I was beaten up, I couldn't even make money for like a day because my
mhm.
eyes were swollen shut, so I couldn't even hit people.
Would,
Um,
would would you say that's hell on earth if we were to say?
Without a doubt,
Mm,
without a doubt, the streets in that environment is hell on earth. It's as close as you can get. I mean,
mhm,
I I would say there's worse areas in the world.
mhm,
There's war-torn parts of Russia and I'm sure Ukraine right now.
mm, yeah,
These other third world countries that experience that kind of life every day. But as far as it goes in America, it's as close as you can get to a
mhm,
third world country.
mhm,
And it's not only just people trying to survive, but it's people who are in active addiction and criminal behavior trying to
right.
survive together in this community.
Yeah, man, it's unbelievable. You know what's crazy? Again, like I don't think it's something that you will ever see anywhere in the world. What bugs me out is you can come to Kensington, it's broad daylight. You got cops everywhere, and then you got a dude with like a syringe chilling out his arm and he's nodding out and shit. Like it's so dystopian, but yet it's so unbelievable. Like from Europe, like experience in your opinion, why aren't these cops doing anything, or are they doing something?
So a lot of what it comes down to, I think, it's a giant systemic failure. So
Mhm,
what you have is addicts on the street who are getting high. If those cops arrested everybody they ran into that had paraphernalia on them or was under the influence, the jails would be full in a half an hour.
mhm,
So there's no room. On top of that, it's compounded by trank wounds,
mhm,
which the jails aren't equipped to deal with.
right.
Um, from there, it's detox, and with trank detox, it's not like throwing somebody in a cell and letting them kick like it used to be with heroin or even fentanyl. um, Trank detox can kill you, and it does kill people. So they can't just put you into jail and say, all right, sweat it out.
You know
So
what, what's crazy? I understand everything that you're saying, and it's obviously, you know it's a lack of resources, but like I was born and raised in Ukraine, and I've talked about this openly because I've had people that were on this podcast that were involved with some of the biggest political elites in Ukraine. And again, I'm from Ukraine. So Ukraine is probably one of the most corrupt countries in the history of humanity, not just in Europe, not just in the world. It's always been like that. The reason I'm bringing this up is the American government throughout this war has sent over, you know, somewhere around 300 to 350 billion to where that money was dispersed between the corrupted political elites in Ukraine. So, what I'm trying to say is, America, if we would want, we do have the resources in order to make these changes, my brother. You see
Three
what I'm
hundred
saying?
and fifty billion dollars would solve the addiction problem in America
You see what
forever.
I'm saying? And I'm not even accounting for the trillions that we spend on military alone. I'm just saying
Uh,
that incident right there, and the corruption and everything is boiling up right now, like we're finally gonna hear about it more and more. But imagine, like, you, someone that has survived something like that, someone that you yourself has been a um tax paying citizen, imagine, like, how does that make you feel, man? That that this could possibly do a lot for the people in Kensington, man, and the money is being wasted like this.
I mean, it makes you feel disappointed at it makes me feel disappointed at the government, at at the system in total, knowing that there is a solution. Look at Portugal. They have cut their addiction rates in half. Um, by
Switzerland did it, brother. Switzerland
s-
did a
yeah,
phenomenal job, man,
yeah,
because
Switzerland as well.
yeah, what they did is they figured out a way to so what they did is they gave the addicts a job, they gave them a place to live, and they said, look, once a day you will come to the hospital, or twice a day, and we will shoot you up. And so what they did is they had enough resources and enough willpower to give these addicts a sense of a normal life again. So that's why within a year of these addicts going through this program, they didn't want to do dope anymore. They
They
got a
don't want to
sense
do
of,
it anymore.
they don't want to do it. They got a sense of community. They maybe got a girlfriend or whatever, or a boyfriend or whatever it is. They have a stable job. You know what I'm saying? And that need for that self-medicating drug is not there anymore. So, and again, we live in the by GDP, the wealthiest country in the world, man. you know
Yeah, the resources are available to solve the problem, but it's it's a for-profit industry at the end of the day, right? So jails are for profit, rehabs are for profit, and the more people that come in and cycle throughout those systems, the more money gets into the pockets of those who own those corporations. And it,
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, it's corruption at its finest, but it's legal corruption because there's paperwork that says this is okay.
Yeah, man.
And it,
Listen, so I can't thank you enough. We've been here for almost 4 hours. So
yeah,
let's get to the pinnacle, man, because again, you're such a trooper for doing this. And I just want
sure,
you to know, I really want you to know this, man, that in a lot of ways you are a hero, man, to all of us, because it's like you went through these insane, battles, these spiritual battles, these physical battles. And I just want you to remember that, brother, no matter what, you are a gift and a blessing to this world, man. No matter what you're going to go through, I want you to remember this. I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. You're a gift to your family, and now you're becoming a gift to so many people, man. And I want you to carry that with you, man, that you are an actual blessing, to this
yeah,
world, man. So let's get to the pinnacle, man.
yeah,
To the point of that rock bottom of all rock bottoms, man. I seen the
yeah,
pictures. They are scary. If you don't mind, I'm gonna put them up here in post production. um
absolutely.
so take me to that moment, man, that crazy moment.
So fall of 2024. Mayor Sherelle Parker moves in the beginning of 2024 and outlaws fires and shelters. So no tents are allowed, no fires are allowed in Kensington. Um, I think the plan is to freeze us out. So we're trying to prepare for this as best we can, but you can't really make plans as an addict. And really, what happens is we ended up on the streets in the same old way as we did before, but now we were lacking resources in order to be able to survive.
Crazy.
So, with those fires and shelters now dismissed um, the the picture, and no real solution put in place of them as far as more shelters or more ability to stay out of the elements, um, I started to get very sick. So my body was even failing from using the trank. I started to get sick and I ended up in the hospital. And as you can see here, this scar on my neck
Hmm.
is
You
from a
had a
trach.
tube, right?
Yeah. So what happened is I went into the hospital. My face was swelling up from kidney failure, and my throat started to swell closed. They trached me. I was in the hospital for about a week, and I want to say throughout all this time, I was in contact with my mother. And when
Hmm.
I would end up in the hospital for those days, she would come down to see me. So I did have family available at least to talk to, if not financially, um, all the time. So my mother comes down to visit me and she has to go back to work and I'm like, all right, well, like I still want to get high. So I go back out to the street with a trach
Crazy.
in my throat.
Crazy.
So I have this plastic tube in my throat, and in order to inject myself in the neck the way that I was, because I had no veins left anywhere else, um, you have to hold your breath and blow, and it
Oh
puffs
my
your
God.
veins out. So I couldn't do that because I had a hole in my throat. So I start missing shots in my neck. So my neck gets all infections and abscesses all the way up. Um, so then my trach site gets infected. So I'm like almost delirious all the time. Like I'm not even myself. And the one night I was sleeping next to my girlfriend, and it was a bitter cold night. And I woke up in the morning and my feet were uncovered from the blankets that we had, and they hurt and they kind of felt numb, but I didn't really think anything of it. So that night they had a warming shelter available. They came around with some vans and asked if anybody wanted to go inside for the night. So I went in and I stayed in the shelter, and when I woke up in the morning, I went to put my shoes on and my feet were cold, like way colder than they should have been for the room I was in, and they had swelled up, and I couldn't even get my shoes on, and I was wearing a size, uh, 13 or 14 shoe at the time because my feet were swollen from
Jeez.
just using drugs, um, so I couldn't even fit those shoes on. I had to loosen the laces, and we went to go back to Kensington. They dropped us off at the train station, and to even walk across the street took me like 2 hours. My feet hurt so bad. I was in tears just trying to walk. I had to lean all my weight on my girlfriend, and we get back,
Damn.
and I'm on the street for like another day, but my feet are killing me, and I know something's wrong, but I don't really want to face it. And then I start to get like I feel sick and I know that something's wrong with my body. So I'm like, I gotta go to the hospital. So I um I flag down these cops and they end up looking at my throat and saying, we're gonna call and get you an ambulance. So I go to this hospital and I tell them that I'm there because my trach is infected and my feet
Mm.
hurt and something's wrong with my feet. So I go to the hospital and they do the diagnostics and they take my shoes off and my socks off and my feet were covered with these massive blisters because I had gotten severe frostbite over those
Jeez.
last 2 days that I was out there. Um, and I didn't realize how bad it was. So they told me that I'm probably going to lose my feet. Um, so as it happens, they're watching, and it's a process called demarcation, which is where the dead flesh on your feet, they remove it and watch to see what good flesh remains and what isn't damaged. And they do this over the course of a few days, and they determine that um, my feet are in there's severe frostbite damage, and they might have to amputate. Um, And the other option was go through 6 or 7 months of surgery for a maybe and
Mhm.
severe nerve damage anyway. Um, and then I still was undecided on what I wanted to do. I was hoping that they would start to heal,
Right.
but I started to get gangrene, right? So that's when when the tissue dies because there's no blood flow going to the tissue anymore. um, and that gangrene started to spread into my blood. So they were going to have to start to perform these surgeries, or they were going to have to amputate. And I told them, I thought about it, and it seems like the best option to get me walking again is is to get an amputation of both of my feet. So I had that done on January 25th, maybe January 26th, and I'll show you here. So
Mhm.
these are my legs. Um,
Yo,
the,
I'm sorry, and I'm sorry if I'm taking you back to that moment, but
no, it's okay, man.
ho-
I've dealt with it emotionally.
how did it feel waking up post surgery, man?
I couldn't look at it. Um, I couldn't look at it. I was afraid I was gonna like freak out or something. Um, and like I was in I was grieving like the loss for real.
Right.
I was going through all the stages. I talked about it in that interview you watched, but it's true. Like I dealt with like anger, I dealt with denial, I bargained, um, I was depressed, and then finally I accepted that this is something that happened to me, and this is something that I have to deal with. But when I woke up, I couldn't deal with it.
Mhm.
Those feelings that I experienced happened over the next, I don't know, couple of weeks.
When was
Where
the
where I
first time you looked at it?
probably about a week after the second operation. So they do it in two parts. They take your
Mhm.
feet up at the ankles, so here, and then if you heal well and respond well to the surgery, they then move up and take it here because
Oh
it's
wow.
able to support better under under prosthetics.
Right.
That the bone is stronger there and able to support your
Mm.
weight better. So it was probably about a week after that, um, and there was like 3 days in between. So I don't know, about 10 days or so that I just looked up, man. I didn't even look at my feet, or I would cover up that part with a pillow so I didn't
Mhm.
have to see it because
But were you go ahead, man.
I like couldn't accept it. Um, like I had all this identity like conflict, like how could this happen to me? And
Yeah.
this, it's not supposed to happen to me. That happens to somebody else.
Right.
That's something that somebody else experiences. Like
Right.
I'm not supposed to be that guy. But it turns out that I am that guy because it did happen. So I had a decision to make at that point, you know? Nas, like I had to decide whether I was gonna let this eat me alive,
Mm.
or whether I was going to man up and accept the consequences of the actions of the way that I was living and try to make the best of it and be uh, uh, a member of society that's productive and positive to the best of my ability. Um,
You know what's crazy? I have to say this because I have to ask you this, and it's gonna be like an honest question. You obviously you're very transparent. You're always honest. You're always real, and I appreciate that about you so much. I learned so much about even who you are, man, throughout this conversation. So you're not a bad person. You see what I mean? You're actually a good person. And I know, in me being from the streets, I know dudes, guys, people have done real foul shit, man. The kind of foul shit that you wouldn't do. So my question, and you probably asked this yourself, is do you think you deserve this, man?
Um, I don't necessarily know that anybody deserves anything, really. I think that your life is made up of the consequences of your actions, whether that's good or bad.
Right.
And
It's all cause and effect, but that's exactly why I'm asking you what I'm asking you, because going back to even your story about the guy in jail, man, the guy that killed his pregnant girlfriend, cut
yeah,
out the baby, did the most, I mean, this is demonic foul shit, man. And
yeah,
this,
yeah, that was
and this guy, he's in jail, he's whatever, or he's being tormented that way, but he's there on his own too.
Prove to me that you are alive.
And here you have you, bro, with ethics, with willpower, with someone that was able to pull yourself out. I can see in your eyes, because I know who the killers are. I grew up with killers, man.
yeah.
You don't have that in your eyes, my brother. You're a good person. So again, I ask, like, based on karma, as we say, based on cause and effect, man, do you think you deserve this, man?
Um, I mean, I guess I would say no.
Mm.
I like to think that I'm a good person, man. I like to think that I do good where I can, and
Yeah.
I try not to hurt people where I can't do good, right? So do I deserve this? No, but did my actions lead me up to this event to
Hmm.
happen to me? Yes, they did. I own the consequences of my actions. If I had stayed in any one of these 15 rehabs or 10 or 12 hospital stays that I've been in the last decade, would this have happened to me? Maybe not. So it's every choice that I've ever made in my life has led me up to the point that I'm in right now. And I can't have regrets about the
Hmm.
things that I've done because when I made the decision to do them, that's what I wanted to do at that moment, right?
Absolutely.
So I try to look at it in I guess like maybe a fundamentalist way
Hmm.
like that it's cause and effect. My actions determine the outcome of my life. Um, but even having had this happen to me, through the things that I've done, that that doesn't change my idea of those beliefs, right?
Right.
Like I believe that before this happened, and I still believe it now. So does do people get what they deserve based off of what they do? Probably, yeah. Yeah, so in that way, I would say that I deserve it. But as that person who, you know, tortured that woman, killed her, and then took that child's life, did he get what he deserves based off the actions that he did? Yes, I would
Mm.
say that yes, in the same way as well. So whether that's karma directly, I can't say. But I look at my story and it brings me often to reflect on and I'm not very read on the Bible, and I can't quote
Mhm,
verses or specific chapters or anything like that, but I know it a little bit, and I know Lot's story, and
mhm,
I bring mine back to Lot in the way that through this hardship that I've experienced and gone through in my life, w- even through my own decisions, that this has brought me out on the other side with a greater understanding
yeah,
of God
yeah,
and what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And
yeah,
I know a lot of people who have died for doing a whole lot less than I've done almost on a daily basis.
yeah, yes,
So
sir.
that leads me to believe that I'm here for some reason,
Mhm,
and I think that reason is to help other people who are or once were in my position to be able to face their life head on and accept who they are as a person. Like you're not broken.
mhm,
You don't start out broken.
yeah,
Original sin isn't real. You
yeah,
are who you are.
yeah,
You know, and you live your life to the best of your ability in accordance with your moral standards. And as long as you're not hurting anybody and trying to help if you can
mhm,
without causing harm, then I think that you're doing okay as an individual and as a human. And even on the street, I tried to operate that way. Like
mhm,
like as a hitter, I was depended upon in my community as someone that people came to when they were so shaken sick that they couldn't possibly get this dose into themselves.
yeah,
And they would come to me and say, "Hey, man, can you please get this for me?" And I would hit them in 2 seconds,
yeah,
and I helped them in that way.
of
Even though
course.
you could you could look at it through the moral standpoint, maybe it's skewed in the fact that yeah, we're living on the street in this environment, and am I actually hurting them by giving
Nah,
them this drugs?
at that moment at that moment you're helping, and you're helping greatly, because I even seen when people would miss the vein and hit a nerve and then pull back on the syringe. You know what happens then, so with that, with those kind of things, you were definitely helping out. And that's why, like, again, your story is so incredible. So I'm gonna say something that helps me out. And again, this is part of our, like, Slavic culture, just like we talked about, this super consciousness, omnipresent, omnipotent, and us being a part of this super consciousness. We tend to believe that everything that happens, obviously, it's cause and effect. Karma is real. Karma has different stages. It's a lot deeper than just plainly the way we think about it in the West. But we strongly believe that this inner self, this inner God, is constantly guiding us, and everything that happens to us and is being done to us, even as bad as sometimes we think it is, it's ultimately for our own good, because the foundation of this super consciousness is love. And that's why this love can never do something to you that is hateful, or to destroy you in a way where you can't come back from it, even in a spiritual form. And that's why everything that is being done to us is for a good reason. It's for a good lesson. And sometimes, because you think about it, man, like, again, maybe you got pulled out the way you got pulled out through this situation because it could have been much worse. You know what I'm saying? You could have went
Yeah,
back to that block. You weren't really comprehending. You know what I'm saying? You might have been getting sick, and somebody might have handed you a gun, and you would have shot, whatever. Like, there could have always been something worse, man.
I
And
think if this didn't happen, I would be dead, to
yeah,
be honest
dead,
with you.
dead, or some form of another hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's this love, and again, it's this purpose, my brother, man, because this has to be with the Almighty saying, bro, you got a lot of work to do, man. Yeah, you're gonna
yeah.
go do this because you're the type of dude that you're not gonna understand any other way, man. I gotta take you, what I'm saying, to this sort of hell, so you can come out of it and be a stronger person. And I even see the way you're recovering, seeing you today, knock on wood, I can see that you're recovering a lot better than most people would. You look good again, you gain weight, bro. Like, you're talking straight. What I want to know is, though, like, you went through the surgery and everything. This is what I'm really curious about.
Hmm.
Like, what happened to the detox portion? Like, because you're coming off of these drugs, like, were you also getting sick? Like, how was that, man?
Yeah. So, um, thankfully, most Philly hospitals have put themselves into a position to understand what they're dealing with in Kensington,
Okay.
and that is people coming off of hardcore habits, um, like bad habits of
Mhm.
dope. Like, um, when I came in for my detox, they had me on 8 milligrams of Dilaudid every 4 hours, um, two 3 Oxy 20s every
Mhm.
6 hours, and two Oxy 80s every 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and on top of that, they had medicine to treat the trank withdrawal. Um, so they medicate you properly, and
Right.
then taper you down, and then they at the end of that taper, they move you on to Suboxone. So what they do is they
Mhm.
microdose you while you're still on the opiates. Um, They microdose you onto Suboxone to start to fill those receptors so you don't go through precipitated withdrawal, and
Mhm.
it kind of just balances the scale
Right.
until you transfer to subs. So
Mhm.
they've figured out a technique for that. But so that was what it was like for me. But unfortunately, what's happening in Kensington right now is something called metatomidine,
Mm.
right? And metatomidine or metatomidine is a stronger tranquilizer than xylazine.
Holy shit.
And the detox problems from that are um, heart attack, stroke,
Wow.
aneurysm, soup like crazy hypertension, like hypertensive crisis all the time. Like you need to be taking this drug at a interval, or you will have a heart attack or a stroke. That's how
Mhm.
bad it gets. And the hospitals right now, because this drug is fairly new within the last year or so, they they're not equipped to deal with it in the same way
Mhm.
that they were with xylazine. A friend of mine had a stroke in the hospital with a blood pressure of 280 over 190.
Jesus.
Yeah, in the hospital. Another friend of mine had 2 heart attacks. One, in the hospital, a miniature heart attack, and he had a heart attack out of the hospital right after they released him. Like, it's really bad down there right now, and they can't arrest these people because of the
Mhm.
same reason. They can't treat them in the jails if they can't treat them in the hospitals.
Crazy, man.
So a friend of mine, literally, she just got out of the hospital the other day. They told her, "Go get high. We can't stabilize you
Mhm.
with the meds we have available. You need to go do your
Yeah.
dose."
Yeah.
Is that
How
insane or what?
before I ask you like some final questions, and again, man, it's been such a privilege, such an honor, man, and thank you for sticking it out this long. And I'm gonna release this interview in parts, obviously, because it's four
Yeah, yeah,
hours
sure.
long. But I wanted to ask before, like, I ask you some final questions. How prevalent were deaths while you were on Kensington? Like, was it on a daily basis that you witnessed somebody's lights go out?
Um, Not at first, but as Trank um saturated the supply more and more, and people used heavier and heavier doses, the symptoms compounded further with the tranks. So um, a big problem that people would deal with was septic shock and
Mm,
abscesses, and often these abscesses would form on the brain, or on the heart through endocarditis.
Jesus
And
Christ, man.
yeah, and I mean, endo has always been a problem among IV users, but even more so with the corrosive effects of trank. So deaths started to occur more frequently, down to the point of, I mean, almost one a week you would hear about. Um, and that's just from the drugs, not to mention murders, um, women disappearing after a date, just
Crazy.
crazy stuff, man. There was a serial killer called the Kensington Strangler. He was before my time in Kensington, but he was down there getting high with the addicts, and then he would go take these girls on dates and kill
Damn,
them.
bro. The shit, man. That's
Uh,
crazy.
one night I was walking on the street and um, I ran into these cops from Clearfield Street all the way over to Allegheny across E Street and um, across Rohrer Street rather. And I said, "What's going on, you guys?" And dude told me straight face. He said, "We think it's a serial killer. We've been tracking him for a while, and we think he's on this house, in this house." So like you have predators in Kensington who come there specifically to hunt these people who are in the margins and are forgotten with, no family or friends to care about them or keep track of them. And
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Like I said, I'm from Ukraine, so like, I even as a kid like experienced war zones, and then now hearing stories with my friends and family, like, yeah, man, with these hell on earth places, man, that's where a lot of times people get take advantage of the most. I
yeah,
want to ask your opinion, because the same dude that you met on Kensington as he was walking around, that YouTuber guy, and then he interviewed you.
yeah,
He also did a video on the Trank brothers. I don't know if you've seen that one.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That was Philly Streets, the interview.
yeah, so I wanted to ask you: is it true that it's only two brothers that control the whole Trank game? And the second part of the question is: do you judge them personally? Like, are you angry about these supposed Trank brothers if they do exist?
So the Trank brothers definitely exist, but they're just a piece of the puzzle. Um,
Got you.
yeah, they I think they ran like I think 6 or 7 blocks in that area. Um, and I think they were Weymouth guys, and those Weymouth guys just got taken out in the FBI raid a couple of weeks ago.
Got you.
Um, so so they were a piece of the puzzle, but just a piece. I mean, Kensington is um from what I understand the largest open air drug market on the East Coast, maybe in America.
Nah,
So
definitely on the East Coast, brother. Yeah.
yeah, so you have 80 to 100 blocks that are dealing drugs 24/7 at any one time. Um, so to affect 6 or 7 blocks is sure it's a fairly large chunk of that, but it's not the whole story.
Got you.
And
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a whole ecosystem around that, man. So do you judge people like that? Do you strongly judge people like that? Do you dislike them or hate them, or like how do you deal with that internally, knowing that these people are out there?
so I I judge them in the way that they presented themselves in that interview.
Mhm,
Um, as and maybe they are that way, and do I judge them for that? I guess so, yeah, that
mhm.
they're cold-hearted,
Right.
just zero remorse. Like, in that interview, Andrew asked them, "Do you feel bad about what you're
Yeah.
doing?" And he said, "Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad when they die and they don't bring me any more money."
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
judge you for saying something like that? 100%.
I mean,
Yes.
that's no conscience. That's no, like you said, remorse. Like, that's demonic. Like, to me, because so the way that I judge good and evil is, every good person can do something bad, right? It's the intention that goes behind it. You know what I'm saying? And that's
I
why a lot
agree.
of times, like, I say, like, I know my brother, like, I know his heart. So if someone comes to me and says, oh, like, he raped a girl or whatever, I know that that will not be true, because I know his heart. But if something like that would have happened, then I would know that his intention wasn't to, do something like that, right? And that's what separates to me the good from the evil. Again, you could be a good person in a bad situation, like you talked about hurting your parents. You're not doing it intentionally. You were self
No,
medicating. You understand? It's not like you're out on the street, you're like, haha, I'm gonna hurt my mom, right? Like, nah, that's not the way it is. but
no.
but the dudes, those supposed Trank brothers, and I don't know if it was really them dudes, because I'm from the streets. I don't imagine who in their right mind would give an interview like that.
It
But
was
whatever.
them.
It was them, was it, man? That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fucked out, bro.
Yeah, somebody from Philly.
Because I didn't believe
Um,
it, bro. I didn't believe. I'm from the streets. I'm like, we would never do no shit like that.
yeah, no, no, they were real. Somebody from the streets down there got Andrew connected with those guys to go in and do that interview. So they
Yeah,
actually
but
did
it's
that. That
crazy. It's crazy that they were ballsy enough to do something like that,
yeah,
bro. Like,
it was crazy.
that's because the streets, bro. Like, you stay away from cameras, you stay away from all kinds of stuff like that. Anything incriminating,
Honestly,
bro.
it wouldn't surprise me if that video somehow led to their downfall in the future based off of
Exactly.
the
Exactly, bro.
technology that the FBI has or CIA, whatever,
Come on,
whoever's
man.
infiltrating.
Come
They
on,
can
man.
look at a room and see the
They showed
backyard
that
through a
house.
window.
Exactly.
They
Exactly,
know,
bro.
yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, man, it's something demonic, because I felt the same thing. You know what I'm saying? When he said what he said, and like, and the thing that really killed me, because again, I'm from a third world country. So when I speak of poverty, I'm talking about, not you're gonna go rob somebody for a pair of Jordans. You're gonna go rob somebody for bread,
food.
literally for some food, bro. So when he asked the dude, like, so what do you like to do with your money? He's like, oh, buy jewelry, take out girls, like drive cars. And I'm like, bro, like, this shit is mind blowing, bro. That's another
Hmm.
addict for you right there, man. That's another, like, you somebody, stuck in a cycle of material hell, bro. Like, imagine,
Yeah, it is.
he's addicted to that shit, bro. Like, what did you think of that, man?
I thought the same thing, but you'll never hear anyone like that admit it, I don't think, because they don't see it that way. They see it as
Because
getting their money
society
or
society puts on a high pedestal this, material, like, stuff. But I would say that it's a person that has the same void that an addict does. But then again, the way he was responding to the questions, like you said, with no remorse, to me, like, that's demonic. That's his nature, bro.
if he would have said, look, like I know what I'm doing is wrong,
Yeah.
and I accept that, but I grew up in this neighborhood and
Yeah.
I never found a way out, so I ended up in this mix and this is
Yeah.
what I do to make my money. Then
Yeah.
I can understand that. But to have no remorse whatsoever, or even to gleefully speak about another
Yeah.
person dying, or you're only resent their death because they're not bringing you money anymore, it is pure evil as far
Crazy,
as
bro.
I can tell.
It's demonic, man.
There's stories about Kensington, about black magic, Santeria,
Mhm.
sacrifices. You hear about that stuff, like for instance, just Weymouth Street. This was years ago, and those guys cycle through, and it's not always the same faces. But there was one time I was staying at a house there, and they had a goat in the backyard for a little while, a couple of days,
Holy
and then
shit.
one day the goat was gone, and like, what do you do for
Holy shit, bro.
deep? You're talking deep his Hispanic culture, Santeria, Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
Dominican Republic,
That's
like
all voodoo. That's all voodoo countries, bro.
is voodoo countries, man.
Yeah.
And what do you do with goats? You sacrifice them.
Yo, I'm not surprised, man. Like I said, going to Kensington, you can tell that it's a magnetic
You can
vortex,
feel it.
Yeah, it's a magnetic vortex pulling, sucking people into it, man. And and it's incredible when someone gets out, man.
I
So
got my legs too, by the way.
yo, I seen that, man. I want to get into that. Congratulations on that. I seen that, bro.
Yeah.
I want to get into that. Especially somebody that, I've gone through like physical therapy recovery before. You know what I'm saying? So I know I can't imagine how hard it is for you, but I have some sort of an idea of how hard it is. But this is what I want to ask you. So you finally get out of the hospital. You go through all the phases of trying to accept what has happened to you. How has your recovery been, and especially within the first months, as far as physically and mentally? Like, because it's a huge, people don't understand, it's a huge psychological hit. Because first of all, let's be frank and be real. You went through an extremely traumatic experience, and I'm not even talking about losing the legs. I'm talking about every day for 5 years you were willingly or unwillingly, whatever it is, with some special forces, putting yourself through trauma day in and day out. So even to recover from something like that, that's going to be a story within itself. But so how have the first few months have been for you,
So
psychologically as well as physically?
a lot better than I expected, to be honest with you. I left in February. Um, I left, I think it was February 15th. I left Kensington. And when I got home, I still wanted to use. I did. Like as crazy as that sounds,
Yeah.
I still wanted to get high.
Of course, man. Of course. And
It,
that's, look, I want you to continue, but I want to
yeah.
say this also, that that's another courageous side of you, that you took this experience in the way that you have taken it. Because you're talking about, oh, I felt like using, but my brother, it's a perfect excuse for you to use. It's a perfect excuse for you to say, F life, F the world. My legs are gone. I got nothing to lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go back to doing what I'm doing. But you took this in a whole other, again, like this heroic way, bro. I'm not even blowing smoke in your behind. So, so yeah, man, talk about that journey, because it's crazy. So you're having urges, man. How are you dealing with those urges in those initial months?
So so when I first got home, um, I made plans to get high. My girlfriend was still out on the streets while I was back here. So every cold night, every time it rains, I'm thinking about her out there, like, you know, um, just being stuck on these streets. So that affected me emotionally, and then the part of me that's an addict that just got torn from this way of life that I'd been living for, half a decade, where I was a total mess, to be honest with you. Like, I would sit here and I would just think about stuff, and I would get emotional and cry, and like I'm like, this is like, what is my life right now?
Mm,
And um so I've been on the sub since January. um, but since I got home in the first couple months, I used 4 times, but not opiates. I used some coke and I used a little bit of speed.
mm,
Um, and um, since each time I did it, like I had this itch to do it, right? And then I did it, and I didn't feel any better afterwards.
mm,
In fact, I felt worse than I had before I picked up. And then I tried it again, and the same thing. It wasn't the answer for me. It
yeah,
wasn't quieting this thing inside of me anymore.
yeah.
Um, and then I started going to counseling, and I started going to mental health therapy, and I started writing, and I got into writing the book, Kensington Beach, and they call it Kensington Beach because people are down there laid out like
Mm.
they're on the beach, they're on the sidewalks, just there, and
It's
it's
a
like this
crazy name, man.
twisted vacation from life, like it really is. It's Kensington Beach, and it's ironic in the best way, I guess. And you
How
know,
was
ri-
how was writing that book, man? How was that going back through those stories internally, man.
Um, it was a lot emotionally and mentally, but it helped me process so much of the so many of the things that I've been through in a healthy way because I could write down what happened and put myself there and then put it on paper in that way and relive that, but not on the street where I have to
Mm,
watch my back and where I can't feel these things because I have to hold this persona up of being this hard homeless addict who's like weathered and
mm,
has this street tenure. Like I could process it and feel it emotionally. I can't tell you how many times I cried writing that book.
right.
Probably 100, you
Yeah.
know, just because I would feel these things that I didn't deal with for
Yeah.
so long, and and then I put it on paper and I felt it again. But I was safe.
Mm,
I was here in my house where I didn't have to go through those things, um, even by myself. And then going to the counseling and being honest with my counselors and saying like if you put drugs on the table in front of me right now I would use them and I'm not
mm,
like I told her right from the gate that I'm only doing this because it's going to look good on paper when I have to deal with my legal stuff.
mm,
um and then as time went on and I I went back to those stimulants a couple of times and realized that they weren't fixing the part of inside of me that's broken
mhm,
anymore. That I was able to take that and externalize it into action in a healthy way, as opposed to trying to run from it by using again. And by doing that, I've grown tremendously, man. I've been going to this counseling since March. Um, I've been going to mental health since like June, and I've never done that before. Like I'm not dual diagnosed, and I
mm,
know mental health plays a big part in a lot of people's addictions, and I'm blessed in the way that I'm fairly emotionally stable.
mhm,
Um, and that's helped me, but having never gone to any kind of mental health therapy, I figured it can't hurt, and at best it will help.
right.
So, I went through it, and I was honest with, these counselors and these therapists, and I told them how I was feeling, and as time went on, those thoughts of picking up got further and further away. And then I got my girlfriend out of Kensington. I got
Right.
paid from disability and I called her and I said, I have the money to get you what you need to not be sick, to get you a hotel for a couple of days and to get you into rehab if you want to
Wow.
go. So
Wow.
do you want to go? And she said, yes, absolutely. I
Wow.
can't wait. And and she went to treatment and she's been clean since then, since June.
Yo,
Um,
congratulations, man. Jesus
yeah,
Christ. Wow.
Yeah, so she's in a sober house now, in Philly, and she does some outreach in Kensington sometimes. She goes down with people, so she's, not exposed and alone down there. And, she's trying to give back and like that's what you do. That's how you do it to stay sober. And like even doing things like this,
Mhm.
somebody in your audience who watches this is gonna be a recovering addict or even in active addiction and say, hey, you know what? maybe maybe I don't have to end up like Bud did
Yo,
in order
listen, brother,
to change.
your story, trust me, your story has already stopped a lot of kids from ever trying drugs. Believe me, man.
Yeah,
There
I
were
hope it has.
I guarantee you, man, that there are kids when they seen the initial interview, when they will see this in-depth story, they will be like, "Nah, bro. Like, I'll go pick up a basketball, a guitar, a
Yeah,
something,
do
man."
something else because it's the lie, man, is that the drugs are gonna make you feel good, right? Because that's what they do. But but they're only gonna make you feel good for so long, and then they're gonna make you feel bad. And by that time, you're stuck and you can't stop. And that's the thing that people I think don't understand is I didn't. Like like when I started doing drugs, I didn't realize that it was like this incremental thing.
Yeah.
In their presentations, they showed me these people with these brain injuries, and they're burnt out, or they're on the street, and they make it seem like that happens overnight, and it
No,
doesn't. You've
don't.
got a good couple of years of party in you before something like that happens for the
Yeah.
most part. So so that's the lie about drugs, is that they're gonna make you think that nothing bad is gonna happen right up until it does, and then
Mhm.
it's too late. So
Yeah. You know what I always tell kids, or like younger people about drugs is like, look, if you don't try drugs, you're not going to miss out on anything. Like there's nothing that, obviously, like being completely honest, of course, man, it's these, experiences, these lessons, these some, they're very painful at times, they're fun at times. But I still say that if you were to live the rest of your life without trying any type of drug, like I don't think you're gonna miss out on anything, man.
you're not gonna miss anything, man. You know, um, as far as if if you were gonna take any substance in your life, I like, and I don't want to come off as condoning drug use, but I would say if you had to pick, take some mushrooms with a
Mhm.
controlled environment,
Yeah.
like talk to your therapist and say, "Hey, I want to try this under your guidance," because there's a lot of studies that are showing that these things can help people with depression, or
Yeah, they're doing a lot of psilocybin trials, medical trials, like even
yeah,
in Jersey right now. It,
MDMA, ketamine.
yeah, man, there's a big thing that still hasn't hit the West, but it's very prevalent in Slavic countries. It's called Amanita muscaria. Maybe you heard of it. And
Yeah,
you also do it in microdosing, but again, you have to get actual like good source, microdosed Amanita muscaria. Um,
yeah,
and it works wonders. I've done it before. What you notice is that after 2 weeks of microdosing, and you will start like just taking one capsule, it's like 0.50 milligrams. And what happens is within after 2 weeks, and I did this, man, it actually happens. All of a sudden you notice that your brain is starting to pick the very best qualities of yourself. I'm not sure
hmm,
medically how it works, but it starts to show you what you can be as the best version of yourself, and it
it's
starts to
interesting.
like, yeah, and it starts to like leave, these bad habits behind, and it happens, so automatically, like you're not even noticing. You don't feel anything in your body differently. There's no high, there's nothing, man. But all of a sudden you're noticing that your dreams are a lot more vivid, and of course we know that's when the subconscious is clearing out a lot of the stuff, so that's why dreams are so
Yeah,
important. And you, again, if you stick to it, within 2 weeks you find yourself finding the best version of yourself once again, man. It's something that I would recommend. So you're absolutely right, man. Psilocybin, Amanita muscaria. How do you feel with weed, man? What if someone was just to smoke weed for the rest of their life?
I think if they can manage smoking weed, and that helps them in the way that it needs to help them, then by all means do it. If you start to notice it being a problem and affecting your daily life, in affecting your function as, being productive, or something like that, then lay off. But, for somebody with an addictive personality like me, like I tried weed, and then weed became my identity, and I
Mhm,
tried heroin, and that became my identity, and so on and so forth. So, um, just be mindful of who you are, and
mhm.
the way that your mind works.
Yo, going back to your legs, man, do you get I forget exactly what it's called, the phantom reflex or whatever? Like,
Phantom pain.
yeah, yeah,
Um, or phantom sensation sometimes,
yeah.
but a lot of people get phantom pain, and I'm blessed for it that I don't.
Thank
Um,
God, man. But do you ever
yeah,
like feel like your legs are itching down there or whatever? Like,
So I can wiggle my toes right now.
Yo, that's crazy. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
obviously, because you've lived with your legs your whole life, man.
Yeah.
Incredible, man. Incredible.
Yeah.
Does that help out at times? Like,
So what I did when I first got the amputations, I would feel pain and like these sensations, and I watched something online, and somebody said you're supposed to take your feet, right, that aren't there anymore,
mhm,
or I mean even if your hand, if you're
right.
uh upper limb amputee, like
Mhm,
you take your limb and you try to flex it, like make a fist with
mhm,
your feet, and then
mhm.
try to make a backward fist the other way, like this
Gotcha.
with your feet. And you do that back and forth. And that reprograms your nerves to
Right.
understand that it's not there anymore.
Makes
And
sense. Makes sense.
eh, I did that in the beginning. And I think that's the reason why I don't have pain like that now.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Just like I said before, bro. Like, congratulations because you're recovering very well. Like, if I was just to meet you like this, I wouldn't be able to tell that you went through this hell. That you almost died. You almost had. So, how are you doing internally as far as like kidneys, liver, and all of that?
So I got treated for I had hepatitis C for quite a while. So I got treated for that and got that cured through a medication.
Okay.
I did that when I got home,
Thank God.
and um, I have cirrhosis of the liver
Hmm.
from just years of drug use. So I
Okay.
do have that going on, but I have a test scheduled in the next month or so to see how that's doing. But as far as cirrhosis can be, it's the best that it can be.
Hmm.
Um, so there's compensated and decompensated. Mine is compensated, which means it's still functioning properly. It's just at
Okay.
less capacity. Um, but my kidneys are doing well. I don't have any heart problems. I got my heart checked out.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so I'm pretty good as far as health goes for the best it can be for the life
Right.
that I've lived.
Right. Yo, listen, man, we just hit 4 hours 42 minutes. Just last two questions, man, and I'll get you out of here. And again, I want to thank you for doing this. I want to thank you for your story. I know you said that you're thinking about like podcasting over there. Listen, your fam, whatever you need, if you need anything, if you need any type of help going that direction, I'm here for you. If you ever want to collaborate, like we can even, come up with something that we can do, collaboratively, man. And because
Cool.
I want you to continue this journey, man. So two last questions, man. First, the book. What are you hoping and wanting for this book to do, man?
I mean, my big dream for it is that it becomes some sort of series or film.
Nice.
That's the biggest dream I have for it. Minimalist, that it helps somebody not go down the path that I had to. So anywhere in between, I'm happy with that.
Nice, man. Very nice. Um,
I'm
yeah,
trying
man.
to
Go ahead.
I'm trying to get it into like some rehabs and stuff like that. That's part of the plan. So I'll get the first check from that next month in December, and I want to use some of that money to buy copies to donate to people,
No
whether
doubt,
they
man.
just can't afford it and want one, or rehabs to get it in there and get my story around and show people like, even at your worst, you can
Yeah,
be
man.
better.
Yeah, man. You should also start like donations and stuff, man. Let people contribute. A lot of people, they're looking for things to be a part of, to contribute, man. And it's definitely something worth contributing to. And again, I want to remind you that your story happened during the worst times of this drug epidemic that we have, this fentanyl epidemic that we have going, nationwide. So that's another, part of the reason you're a piece in this grand puzzle. And I know that your book is gonna become multiple bestseller. They should definitely do a documentary and a film about your story. um so last question, man. We have a tradition on the Prove to Me That You're Alive podcast, and I ask every first time guest. And again, like, anytime you want to come back, brother. We should, we can do this. We can kick it on some deeper, psychological and spiritual side of addiction and everything.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
So you're welcome to come back. Yeah, man. Make sure you send me all the links that you want me to plug in the description. That way people can find you. Again, I think you should, start donations. So the last question is, what is the meaning of life to you right now?
Um, to me right now, the meaning of life is to try to spread a message of hope to somebody else who is struggling. Um, I think that's the simplest way I could boil it down to is um like I said before, man, not to compare, but I'm probably one of the worst drug addicts that you could meet, and I'm sitting here sober today
Yeah,
and happy.
yeah,
So you don't have to be unhappy in sobriety, and even if it feels like you have all this stuff piled on you that you're never going to be able to solve, because that kept me stuck out there for a long time, is this legal stuff that I knew was over my head. And what am I going to do if I do get clean, then what? As long as you trust in yourself, and you trust in other people to help you, because people will help you out of this. There are as many hands as you need to pull you up out of that hole, as long as you reach up to take them. So just trust in yourself and trust in other people to pull you up, and it is possible. That's what the meaning is for me now, is to share that message and let people know that it can happen.
that's very powerful, man. Again, I want to give a shout out to your parents. I want to give a shout out to your girlfriend that you had a hand in. That's another blessing, and that she's.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
she was
pray
out
that.
there with me the whole time, man.
That's
You know,
crazy,
so
man.
her
That's
story's
crazy.
just as powerful as mine in a lot of ways.
That's insane, man. Um, and it seems like you always have had some sort of angels around you. No matter how bad it got. Um, that adds the worth to who you are. And again, like, I'm sorry that it went this far. I truly am, because again, like, I can see it in your eyes and talking to you. You're a good dude, man. But I am sure, I do know that all this happened, for a reason. For There's a meaning behind it. You will be very impact. You have already been very impactful. Trust me, man. Um, Little do you know, you're saving kids right now. Again, from ever trying it, or from thinking that they went too far. So Bud Rodney, man, God bless you, brother. Um, your family, come back anytime. Again, man, whatever you need from me, I got you. Keep doing your thing, bro. Keep doing your
Thank
thing.
you, bro.
Remember that you are worth it. We need you out here, man. And your voice, can and will become one of the most powerful voices of our times, man. We need you, brother. So is there anything else? You can take us out of here.
Um, I don't know, man. I mean, I think this was great. I really do. This is something that I want to do today, is get on and do things like this, and share my story to try to be able to help other people. It almost feels surreal in a way, um, in the fact, like, um, you know, uh, even from the last interview that I did with Andrew, and a lot of the comments on it are saying, "Hey, man, you already helped me," or "I'm
Mhm.
I'm sober this long, and you can do it, and we're all cheering for you." Like, to have so many people behind me and hoping the best for me, it feels surreal, because, like, I just see myself as a regular guy. I'm just a dude who likes to hang out and watch Netflix or Amazon Prime and play some video games, guitar, smoke some cigarettes. Like I'm not I don't see myself as a hero or someone special in that way. Like I know that I have a survival story and that's true. But as far as the way I view myself, I'm just a guy from northeastern Pennsylvania who made it out of some shit that probably should have killed me. So
Mhm.
yeah, man. I
Nah,
don't
man,
know.
you're you know, obviously you're being humble, man, but at one point you're gonna have to embrace the fact that that you can and should be a hero, man, to a lot of these people that are struggling, that see no way back, man. And with your story, we know that no matter how bad it gets, we can still get out, we can still change, we can. And again, man, I'm so glad to hear. I mean, I'm so glad to see that you look healthy, bro. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
look healthy, my brother.
Took me a long time to start gaining some weight back, man. Like
Yeah.
I was skinny like for like 6, 7 months after I got home.
So what
For
are you
real.
doing? You working on your upper body? Cause you looking jacked again, bro.
Um, yeah, no, I try to eat healthy and like
Mhm.
I'm in a chair, so like I push myself around and that's all shoulders
Gotcha.
and you know what I mean? So it kind of builds that up. But my lower body is destroyed right now. It's
Mhm.
my muscles are kind of atrophied just from not
You'll
using them.
you'll get
But
there, man. But that's another thing.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you. But how are the new legs doing, man? How was that experience?
it was hard at first. It was like and the first time I put them on, I thought, "Oh man, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this." And then like I tried them again and it was a little bit easier, and I tried them again and it was a little bit easier than the last time, and it's been going like that. So the other day I took a couple of steps like without holding on to anything. So I like it was only like two, but they
Hmm.
were like pretty good steps.
Wow.
So I took two steps without holding on and I just learned how to like stand up and sit down the right way. So it's really learning the whole process of walking and even sitting and standing up
Mhm.
again. But each time I do it is easier. So it's
Mm.
going well. And I got good prosthetics too.
Yo, you
Um
excited, man? You about to walk
yeah.
again, baby?
Yeah, no, I am excited. I
That's
am
what's up.
excited.
That's what's up. Congratulations, man. Yeah, people don't
Yeah.
understand how like sometimes physical therapy, especially something this, this bad, man, can be super hard, man. But keep at it, bro. You know what I'm saying? You're strong up here, you're strong in your mind, you know what I mean? And just imagine, bro, like you're on the other side of the mountain. So everything that was the worst in your life is behind you, my brother.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
now,
a good way to put it.
yeah, man. Now, whatever you want in life is all in front of you, bro. That's it. You done did your worst already, bro. That's it. Now it's you can do all the beautiful things you ever wanted to do, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that the way that you put that.
Yeah, it's
Mountains
true though.
behind me.
It's true, man. All right, man. Bud Rodney, thank you. Thank your parents. They are wonderful folks, man. It was nice to meet them. Nice to meet your dog.
Hey, real quick now. So me and my old man, we played this game. My nana as well. We called it Anybody Tell You,
Hmm.
right? And it means anybody tell you I love you today. And the goal is to get that person that day after midnight for the first time. And
That's
my
what's
old
up.
man he
He
just walked
got
in
you.
and got me. He got
That's
me,
a,
man.
that's a blessing, bro. That's a
Yeah,
blessing. You got all those blessings, man. God loves you, my brother. Thank you so much. I tip my
yeah.
hat off to you. You're a super inspiration to me, man. Huge motivation. Let's do this again and again. I'm here for you, and keep doing
Thank
your
you,
thing, man.
thank
Keep
you,
doing your thing, baby.
thank you for having me on, Naz. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right.
Later, man. Later.
Prove to me that you are alive.